What if everything you thought you knew about ancient Egypt was only half the story? Imagine a civilization so advanced, so monumental, that it shaped the Great Sphinx thousands of years before the pharaohs even ruled the Nile. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most controversial and fascinating ideas in ancient history: the possibility that Egypt's past was far older, deeper, and grander than mainstream timelines admit. The Great Sphinx stands silently on the Giza Plateau, staring toward the rising sun, an unmistakable symbol of ancient Egypt. For generations, historians have confidently dated it to around 2500 BCE, crediting its creation to Pharaoh Khafre during the Fourth Dynasty. This explanation is neat, comfortable, and widely taught. But what if it's wrong? What if the Sphinx is not a product of dynastic Egypt at all, but a survivor from a forgotten age? The mystery begins when we look closely, not at inscriptions or statues, but at the stone itself. In the 1990s, geologist Dr. Robert Schoch examined the erosion patterns on the Sphinx's enclosure walls and made a startling observation. The deep vertical grooves carved into the limestone resemble erosion caused by heavy rainfall, not wind-blown sand. That's a critical detail because Egypt has been an arid desert for at least the last 5,000 years. However, geological records show that intense rainfall last occurred in the region closer to 10,000 or even 12,000 years ago. If the Sphinx was exposed to such rainfall, then it must have already existed during that prehistoric wet period. That single conclusion pushes its construction back thousands of years before the first pharaoh ever wore a crown. And this is where the timeline begins to crack. Critics argue that the erosion could still be explained by other factors, but comparisons tell a different story. Nearby structures built during dynastic times show sharp edges and shallow weathering consistent with wind erosion. The Sphinx enclosure, by contrast, looks battered by water over centuries. This contrast suggests something extraordinary, that the Sphinx was already ancient when the pyramids were built beside it. So, if the Sphinx wasn't carved by dynastic Egyptians, then who built it? This question opens a historical vacuum. 10,000 years ago, according to conventional archaeology, humans were primitive hunter-gatherers just learning agriculture. Yet the Sphinx is a masterpiece of engineering, astronomy, and symbolic design. It is precisely aligned with the cardinal directions and possibly oriented to celestial events, such as the rising of the constellation Leo during the ancient equinoxes. These alignments hint at advanced astronomical knowledge that should not have existed at that time. Scattered clues across the Nile Valley deepen the mystery. Massive stone blocks, ancient foundations beneath known temples, and anomalous geological formations suggest that Egypt's civilization may have been built on top of something far older. Instead of being the beginning of greatness, dynasties may have been inheritors, restorers of monuments already ancient when they arrived. This brings us to the idea, sometimes referred to as the Second Sphinx. Not a literal twin buried beneath the sand, but a symbol of a lost chapter in human history. If the Sphinx truly predates dynastic Egypt, then it represents a much larger, unacknowledged civilization, one capable of shaping landscapes, carving colossal monuments, and encoding cosmic knowledge into stone. The implications are staggering. If one monument survived from this forgotten age, how many others were destroyed by time, floods, or buried beneath layers of sand and civilization? What if ancient Egypt's greatness was not the dawn of human achievement, but the echo of something even more advanced that came before? Of course, these ideas face strong resistance. Mainstream archaeology relies heavily on inscriptions, cultural continuity, and accepted chronologies. Radical shifts threaten decades of established research. Yet science progresses by questioning assumptions, not protecting them. New technologies like ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and subsurface scanning are already revealing hidden chambers and unexplored anomalies beneath ancient sites. The next discoveries could force history books to be rewritten. What matters most is not choosing sides, but remaining curious. The Sphinx has watched civilizations rise and fall. It has endured floods, deserts, and dynasties. Perhaps its greatest secret is not who built it, but how much of our own past we have forgotten. If ancient Egypt's story is only half told, then the truth waiting beneath the sands could change how we understand humanity itself. And as more evidence comes to light, one thing becomes clear. The ancient world may have been far more advanced than we ever imagined. If you enjoy exploring the mysteries that challenge official history and uncover forgotten chapters of human civilization, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And let us know in the comments. Do you think the Sphinx is a relic of a lost world or simply misunderstood? The debate is far from over.